And I am with the team from the film called The Salvation, a special screening this evening at the 67th Cannes Film Festival. Tonight, delighted to welcome you here, all four. Thank you for being here. Eva Green with us in Cannes, and back again in Cannes, Mads Mikkelsen, a regular here. It's always a thrill to speak to you. Jeffrey Dean Morgan too, welcome. And welcome Kristian Levring also. Apparently you speak French. Well, yeah, apparently I do. That's good news. You are a Danish film maker who we know from D-Day. When you make a Western, are you aiming to address a further genre? Yes, indeed. But for me, making a Western was a dream I had as a child. The first film that I loved when I was a child was a Western, and I used to love to watch all Western films. So a Dane making a Western sounds a bit strange to me. It's not strange, it's madness. Yes, I suppose it is strange. Absolutely crazy. But it was a wonderful thing for me to have this opportunity to make this film. It was great to be able to make my dream come true. Yes, I understand that. And on top of that, you are bringing us a very strong Western with a tragedy in the storyline, a story of revenge, love. It's very complex. You've used all of the different codes of the genre. What were your references? Well, I love Westerns, as does Jeffrey. He can vouch for me on this score. They're in my head already. I have so many references, but I also wanted to make a film that was for 2014, that corresponds to our day today. The Western, as a genre, or part of the genre, is to make a strong film. Strong is the right word, I'm sure. And I wanted to respect that tradition. And I remember coming here in Cannes in the 70s. I interviewed Sergio Leone when he was screening one of his films, Once Upon a Time in America. He's one of my huge heroes. Yes, we can feel the colouring of Leone in your film. Mads Mikkelsen, it's always a delight to speak to you here. Here you are again. It must be very nice for you to play in a Western. I'm sure when you were a boy you watched Westerns as well and will perhaps play at Cowboys and Indians. Take up the mic and give us your opinion.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, unlike Kristian, I was not having a love affair with the Western genre.
Ah oui?
And obviously in Denmark in the 70s, it was not a dream to be a cowboy. You had to be the Indian. It was very politically correct.
Ah, yeah.
So, but I've watched Westerns and I like Westerns, but I think my love affair was more with Bruce Lee and the Hong Kong genre. But it's also Western. It's built on the same mythology. It is there's somebody who's good and somebody is bad and somebody will clean up. So it comes from the same family.
Et comment vous avez abordé votre personnage?
And how did you broach your character? First of all, how did you react when Kristian said, let's make a Western, we're a Danish team, Danish crew? What was your reaction?
Yeah, obviously, like everybody else, your face goes down a little. Why? Danish? What's happening? But the thing is, actually, I think that we have the right to do Westerns in Europe. It is a European story. This is about migrants who went to America in the 1860s and 70s. There would have been a billion accents, French people, there would be Swedish people, there would even be Chinese people there. So I think that we might own the rights for the Western genre more than the Americans. So here we go. When we accepted that, it was just to go for it.
Est-ce qu'il est vraiment politiquement correct ce Western?
Is this Western politically correct? This is a question we can dwell on. So how did you feel about this project, Eva Green? We were surprised to see you in this film. You don't speak during the film. What made you accept such a project?
C'était intéressant, c'était un challenge de jouer une muette.
It was a challenge to play someone who doesn't speak, a dumb person, someone who doesn't use words to communicate, but who uses her eyes to communicate. It was a challenge. Was it not a bit frustrating? No, not really. It was a different side to acting which I'd never explored before. The personality seems to be a little austere, with an armor, to be able to survive in such a savage environment. So it was a very interesting character to play. And it was great to work with Kristian, Mads, Jeffrey. Wonderful experience. Yes, I can imagine. Did you have an opinion on westerns? Well, I love the music by Morricone, for example. And Calamity Jane would be a great role for me. There is going to be a type of western screened during the competition, The Homesman, but Calamity Jane would be another good film to remake. There are more and more films with actresses in lead roles. Hilary Swank will be with us tomorrow. The enjoyment of making a film, the costumes, this unique atmosphere, does it give you an opportunity to flourish? How did you feel in this western world? Well, it was wonderful. We didn't have a green screen. We were out in the landscape. Everything was natural. Everything was there. We filmed in South Africa, a fabulous, magical country. The costumes all helped. Yes, you felt immersed in it immediately. Yes, indeed. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, you are the baddie in the film, the hard guy. Must be a real thrill to play such a character.
Well, I never looked at him as a bad guy. I felt like he was justified in 99% of the things he did. So this is just kind of told from a Danish point of view, and Mads is the Dane. But from where I'm standing, De La Rue was a justified in his actions and a good guy. He was taking revenge on his brother's death. There's nothing wrong with that, not in that world.
Matt Mikkelsen with the mic, please.
Matt, take the mic for your comment, if you dare.
Yeah, I mean, but his brother was a psycho. Come on.
Well, I didn't see what happened in the stagecoach.
Oh, you
I
have
wasn't there.
You have a hunch. You have a good hunch, don't you?
Yeah, he's a little off.
Vous avez eu l'impression d'incarner ces premiers héros de l'Ouest.
Really feel you were playing these early settlers with no faith, no law, who turned up in untamed land, no judgment from the outside world. How did you get to grips with your character?
Well, I think Kristian wrote such a great script that it was kind of all there, and the Western genre doesn't change much. It's always a tale of revenge, and these men are generally justified in their actions, and there was no law. It was a lawless land in a lawless time, and so coming to grips with it, as soon as I'd put a gun on my hip, I felt completely at ease and justified in whatever the hell I was doing that day.
That means they immediately got into their characters, Kristian. How did you select the different actors? How come you chose Eva Green? Well, it's obvious. Just take a look at her. Immediately, she sprang to mind. I imagined her very early on when creating the film, because she has that strength in her face for this role. It's a difficult role because it's someone who doesn't speak. She did it so wonderfully, and I knew she'd be marvelous, and that's why I chose her. She's watching you there, listening to you. Did you feel any type of pressure? I'm always surprised when I get chosen for any role. Why? I don't know. I always feel it's a bit of a miracle that I'm allowed to do this job. You accepted the role. You could have refused. Why did you accept it? Because I'm sure you have many proposals coming into you. Why did you accept this one? Well, this was a universe I'd never really explored, a Western. I felt like a little girl living out her dream. It was a simple choice to make. Kristian, there's wonderful work on the lighting. How did you choose your different shots, the way you work with your camera? Here again, we are sent back to the images from the westerns of our childhood. How did you manage it? We worked with our director of photography, Jens. We talked at length. The genre of a Western is a film about landscapes. It's a genre which takes place in a landscape. When I'm talking about a landscape, I'm not talking about an empty landscape with nothing happening in it. The landscape is part of the crew for the film. It's one of the characters in the Western film, and that's one of the charms of a Western. So for me, it was really important to use the landscape, to get the most out of the landscape. Thank you very much, Kristian, Mads, Eva, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for coming in. Your film is called The Salvation, a special screening this evening. Let's look at the trailer.